The Demon. The town of Millfield was a quiet and peaceful place, nestled in the rolling hills of rural Maine. But one day, everything changed. A mysterious and malevolent force began to manifest itself, causing strange and frightening things to happen. People reported seeing ghostly apparitions, hearing strange noises, and feeling a pervasive sense of dread. At the center of it all was an old, abandoned house on the outskirts of town. The house was said to be cursed, and no one dared to go near it. But one day, a young couple named Mark and Sarah decided to investigate. They had heard the stories and were determined to find out the truth. As they approached the house, they could feel an eerie and malevolent presence. The door creaked open, and they stepped inside. The inside of the house was dark and musty, and they could hear strange whispers and laughter echoing through the halls. They made their way up the stairs and into a large, empty room. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind them, and the room filled with a blinding light. When the light faded, they found themselves standing face to face with a twisted, demonic entity. The entity told them that it had been trapped in the house for centuries, and it was seeking revenge on the town that had wronged it. Mark and Sarah tried to run, but they were powerless against the entity's dark magic. They were pulled deeper and deeper into the house, until they were lost in a labyrinth of twisting halls and endless rooms. Days passed, and the town grew more and more fearful as strange and terrifying things continued to happen. People went missing, and the entity's presence grew stronger. In the end, it seemed as though the entity had won, and the town of Millfield was doomed to suffer under its curse forever. But as the entity reveled in its newfound power, it did not realize that Mark and Sarah were not so easily defeated. They had been gifted with a special power, one that would allow them to fight back against the darkness and save their town. And so, they began a battle for their lives and for the very soul of Millfield, the Haunted Mansion. Once upon a time, there was a small village nestled in the heart of a dense forest. The villagers lived simple and peaceful lives, but they all knew of the haunted mansion that stood on the edge of the village. The mansion was said to be haunted by the ghost of a young woman who had died there many years before. No one dared to approach the mansion, as they all feared the ghost that was said to roam the halls at night. One day, a young man named Jack moved into the village. He was fearless and did not believe in the ghost stories that the villagers told him. Jack was curious about the haunted mansion and decided to explore it for himself. He entered the mansion and was immediately struck by its grandeur and beauty. However, as he walked deeper into the mansion, he began to feel an overwhelming sense of dread. The air grew colder, and the sound of a woman's laughter echoed through the halls. Suddenly, Jack saw a ghostly figure in front of him. It was the ghost of the young woman, and she was staring straight at him. She beckoned him to follow her, and Jack found himself powerless to resist her pull. The ghost led Jack through the dark and winding halls of the mansion until they reached a room at the top of the tallest tower. In the room, Jack saw a large mirror. The ghost pointed at the mirror, and Jack saw his own reflection. But as he looked closer, he saw that his reflection was not his own. It was the reflection of the ghost, and she was slowly taking control of his body. Jack tried to resist, but the ghost was too powerful. In the end, Jack was trapped inside the mansion, forever a prisoner of the ghost's wrath. From that day on, the villagers never saw Jack again. But on moonless nights, they say that you can still hear his ghostly screams coming from the haunted mansion, echoing through the forest and reminding everyone of the dangers of being too curious for their own good. The Storm. Lena was a successful journalist, known for her hard-hitting investigative pieces. But she never expected her next story to hit so close to home. She began receiving strange and cryptic messages, warning her of an imminent threat to her life. At first, she thought it was just a prank, but as the messages continued, she realized that the danger was all too real. She was being hunted by a mysterious organization, and they were closing in on her fast. Lena was determined to uncover the truth, but every lead she pursued seemed to only lead to more questions. She was plagued by strange dreams, vivid hallucinations, and a growing sense of paranoia. As she delved deeper into the mystery, Lena discovered a web of secrets and lies that went all the way to the top. The organization was far-reaching and powerful, and they would stop at nothing to keep their secrets safe. Lena was in over her head, and she knew that she needed help. She turned to an unlikely ally, a man named Ethan who claimed to have information about the organization. Together, they embarked on a dangerous journey, trying to unravel the truth before it was too late. They were pursued by assassins and chased through the streets, but they refused to give up. In the end, they discovered that the organization was behind a sinister plot to control the world, using advanced technology and mind control. Lena and Ethan were the only ones who could stop them, but they would have to fight against all odds to save humanity. The clock was ticking, and the stakes were high. Lena and Ethan raced against time, fighting to uncover the truth and stop the organization before it was too late. The future of the world was in their hands, and they would not rest until justice was served. It was a dark and stormy night, and the guests at the isolated country estate of Stony Brook Manor were feeling uneasy. The host, wealthy businessman Richard Stony Brook, had gathered his closest friends and associates for a weekend of relaxation, but tensions were running high. As the group gathered for dinner, Richard received a disturbing phone call and excused himself from the table. When he didn't return, the guests grew worried. After searching the sprawling estate, they made a shocking discovery. Richard was dead, murdered in his study. With the storm preventing anyone from leaving, the guests found themselves trapped at the estate with a killer in their midst. The amateur sleuth among them, a renowned detective novelist by the name of Miss Marple, took it upon herself to solve the crime. She quickly established that everyone present had a motive for murder, from Richard's financially struggling brother to his jilted lover. As Miss Marple delved deeper into the case, she uncovered secrets and lies that threatened to tear the group apart. As the storm raged on, the guests at Stony Brook Manor were forced to confront their darkest fears and confront the truth about their relationships with the deceased. In a dramatic twist, Miss Marple revealed that the murderer was none other than the seemingly innocent housekeeper, who had acted in self-defense after discovering Richard's plans to double-cross her. With the killer brought to justice, the guests of Stony Brook Manor were free to leave, but the events of that stormy weekend would stay with them forever. And Miss Marple, as always, would continue to use her sharp mind and keen observation to solve the mysteries of the world. If you enjoyed listening, please subscribe and leave a like.